This is the Alden Report.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by ConnectionCapital.com. That's ConnectionCapital.com. That's ConnectionCapital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever. Have you ever tried to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even Clubhouse, and you couldn't quite connect with them? That's because the biggest gap in the world is the gap of access. It's not the wealth gap. It's not the credit gap. It's the access gap. ConnectionCapital.com is leveling the playing field, and it's free to join. Visit ConnectionCapital.com, ConnectionCapital.com. Again, it's ConnectionCapital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, my name is Michael Alden. We are here in Blue Vase Studios. We're in a little bit of a different place in Blue Vase Studios. We're usually in the podcast studio, but now we're actually in the television studio. This is the first time we've ever done the podcast in the television studio with this backdrop. Now, we have done it before with the black backdrop, but this is the first time we had the cityscape. And I tell you, man, every time I do this podcast, I get so excited to have interesting people from all walks of life, from different backgrounds, different professions. And, today my next guest is a prolific dentist. He's the creator of Zoom. I'm going to talk to him a little bit about that. The stuff that whitens your teeth. He has over 1.3 million followers on Instagram. Every celebrity in the world comes to him for cosmetic dentistry. He's a Guinness World Book of Record holders. He's a New York Times bestselling author. I don't know how this guy sleeps, but please help me welcome Dr. Dorfman. Dr. Dorfman, thanks so much for being my guest.
Thank you. And you know what? You don't have to be so formal. Just call me Dr. Bill. Speaking of sleep, I know we've been talking about weird things. I'm 62 years old. I have never had a bad night's sleep in my life. Not once. When you say, I don't know how he sleeps, I sleep like a rock every single night. I'm like a machine. I lay down, I turn off, that's it. I literally fall asleep within a minute or two.
Well, it's funny, the sleep thing is real important for a lot of people. As a doctor, that it's the cause of a lot of different ailments for people who can't get enough sleep. So let's just jump right into that real quick, since we're talking about, I want to talk a lot about your background. I know you don't have a ton of time, but you know what? Let me ask you that. So what is it that you do that helps people sleep? Because we had talked earlier before we started recording, I have a lot of entrepreneurs, business people, the economy is still a disaster. A lot of people having trouble sleeping. What's your secret?
It's no secret. I'm just weird, dude. I don't know exactly how I came out wired the way I'm wired, but there are so many weird things about me that I don't know. It's not a secret. Like I literally lay down and I just turn off like a robot and I just sleep, and I sleep all night long. And I've done it every single night of my life. I don't know what the secret is. I'm a weird kid.
Is it because you probably work so hard? Like when I think about, doctors, dentists, and I see, really the hard work that you guys put in. Do you think that's it? Do you think just day in and day out, you're just
absolutely not? I think it's just me. I've done it. It was before I was a dentist. As a little kid. Let me tell you how weird I am. Okay. I started kindergarten at 5, right? All kids do. I go to kindergarten. My first day of kindergarten, I come home and my mom and dad say, they call me Billy, right? Billy, how was school? I said, it was okay, but the kids in my class are so immature. I'm 5. I was never a little kid. I was an adult at 5. I took care of, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I took care of all my siblings. I was changing my little brother's diaper when I was 4. I'm a weird person. I don't know how these things happen. There's so many weird things. It's just, I don't know.
So obviously, so at 5 years old, you say, you have essentially the kind of the mindset of an adult. Obviously at that age, no one probably really knows the intellect and really kind of how smart you are. At what point did you realize that you definitely were different than most people?
At 6, I came home and I told my parents I wanted to have a conference with them. Who does that at 6? I sit my parents down and I said, listen, I don't think I need to go to school anymore. They're like, really? Why? I said, well, I know how to read. They're like, and? I said, so I can just, sorry, for some reason, even though I put it on do not disturb when calls come in.
It's all right.
So I'm 6. I tell my parents I want to have a conference, right? So I sit them down and I say, listen, I don't need to go to school anymore. They said, well, why? I said, well, I know how to read. They're like, and? I'm like, well, I'll just read everything I need to know. They're like, no, you need to still go to school. I said, okay. Oh, that's the other thing that's weird. I never got in trouble. Like in my entire life. I asked my parents this recently. I said, did I ever get in trouble for anything? They're like, no, you were like the perfect kid. I really was. I just never did anything wrong. I always figured, why do it the wrong way when you could do it the right way and not get in trouble? It was never, it wasn't like I was like little, goody two shoes. I just always took the path of least resistance, was just do what you're told. I don't know why. I was never rebellious. I just kind of did what I was supposed to do.
All right, well, let's fast forward from 6 to when you decide that you want to be a dentist, because I think at 6 now, go from 5 to 6, 1 year later, you realize, all right, I got a lot of options.
2.5. 2.5, dude. That's when I became interested in dentistry. I was playing in my living room. I fell down. I knocked out all my upper baby teeth. And we went to this, I don't know why I keep getting phone calls.
It's probably because you have 1.4 million followers on Instagram and you've been on every major television show in the country.
All right. So anyhow, at 2.5, I'm playing in my living room. I fall down. I knock out all my upper baby teeth. And I had to have multiple surgeries to ensure that my permanent teeth and everything would grow in perfectly. And we just had a great family dentist. And, I guess a normal kid would probably be freaked out. I was like totally fascinated by the whole process. And at a certain point, I thought, wow, I want to do this for people. Like, I want to help fix people up. So as a little kid, if you said like, little Billy, you're 3 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? A dentist. When all my kids, when all my friends were playing like Army, I was the medic. And it made my life super simple because I just always knew the path, I didn't have to sit and ponder over like, what classes do you take? Like, I just take what a dentist takes.
So were you the type of student, were you one of these kids, essentially like a prodigy? Did you skip grades? I mean, you had mentioned you were in preschool or kindergarten at 5. Did you skip grades? Did you skip certain grades in high school, college, and then medical school, or how'd that work for you?
So this is when you said, when did you really realize that, that you were really different academically? I'll tell you when. I was not one of these kids that just like never studied and got straight A's. I worked my buns off, like really hard. But I realized at a certain point that if I really studied hard, if I really buckled down and I put my mind to it, I could pretty much get an A in any class, but not chemistry. but I wasn't like, I'm not like naturally gifted genius kind of guy, like these people that just, that's not me. I have to really, really work hard. But I know if I really set my mind to it, I can pretty much ace any class I take, but it was not an easy road. I worked hard.
That's interesting you say that too. So when for people who don't know you, who haven't seen you on the Doctor's Extreme Makeover, who haven't been on your Instagram, I think someone might think that you just were given this God-given ability. And I had Dan Coyle on he wrote the book The Talent Code, and he kind of dispels that whole God-given talent type thing. He says, a lot of the people that we think professional athletes or what have you, they were given a certain talent, but that really at the end of the day, it's work. So it sounds like, yeah, you had a little bit of a slight edge, but you, like you said, you had to work your ass off.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. People see your successes in life. At a certain point in life, I just decided I will never fail again. And I haven't. And
when you say again, when was the first time that
no,
you considered?
I mean, there's times when you're growing up where you're like, oh, I failed at this, I failed at that. And then I realized, if you do something and it doesn't come out the way you want it to, that's not failure. That's practice. Then you do it again and again and again till you get it right. But you really only fail when you quit. And I just won't quit. I am not the smartest guy you'll ever meet, but I'm probably one of the most tenacious. If I want to do something, I will not quit. And I'll tell you one of the biggest mistakes that we make. There's an old saying, practice makes what?
Practice makes perfect, but
right.
We know that practice makes permanence.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Practice makes permanent. So if you keep doing something the wrong way, you're never going to get there. So that's why you need mentors. And that's why, I grew up really poor. I mean, really poor. We had no money at all.
Where did you grow up? Where?
In Granada Hills.
Okay.
And I mean, the year I applied to UCLA was the first year I realized how poor we were, because I had to do a financial aid thing. With 5 kids in my family, my dad's combined whole income for the year was $11,000. We have 5 kids in our family.
That's well below the poverty level.
Well below. But you know what? At a certain point, when my businesses, and I'll tell you something, I loved being a dentist, and dentistry has exceeded every expectation I ever had. And at a certain point, when Discus Dental started growing, and we can talk about the company we started, where we invented Zoom and Night White and Day White, Bright Smile, and all these things. When that company started growing, we started giving back, millions and millions of dollars to charity. And I started working with kids, and that's why we started the Leap Foundation, because I realized that, finding great mentors in life is probably one of the strongest ways for people to succeed. And, that's what I really want to do now is, I've had this great career in dentistry. I've done a lot of amazing things, but the thing that I really love doing right now is working with students, 15 to 25. We do a program called Leap every year, which is a motivational leadership program for high school and college kids, where we teach kids the skills that they need to be successful in life. And I'm super excited because last year we had to do the entire program virtually. We just got word from UCLA that we can have 100 students live. So we'll have 100 students live at Leap this year, and we'll have probably 10,000 virtually. So I'm super excited for the program this year.
I want to get into the Leap Foundation, and a little bit more about your background. We kind of grew up pretty similar, well below the poverty level. But I want to talk about the Leap Foundation in just a second. Folks, we've been on with Dr. Billdorfman. He's been featured on Extreme Makeover, The Doctors, Larry King Live, Oprah. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's worked with some of the biggest celebrities in the world: Hugh Jackman, Michael Strahan, Jessica Simpson, Mark Wahlberg, Eva Longoria, and the list goes on and on. He's also one of the founders of the Leap Foundation. If you'd like some more information about Dr. Bill, you can, first of all, check out his Instagram. I mean, he's probably the only dentist that I'm aware of that has one. He's got that little checkbox that everybody wants, but he's also has 1.4 million followers on Instagram. It's Dr. Bill Dorfman. You can also check out the Leap Foundation by going to leapfoundation.com, or you can just go to drbilldoorfman.com. You can just Google the guy. He's everywhere doing some great things. And we're really, really blessed to have him here today. So, you know, I really love what you're talking about. As a kid who grew up surrounded by crime, drugs, and violence myself, in state housing with a single mom, and, you know, people know my story. But tell me a little bit more about the Leap Foundation. I really love that passion. I could hear it in your voice. And I think it's really important that people like you that have had tremendous success, but have worked at it, mentor these kids. Tell us a little bit more about what the Leap Foundation does.
So I'll back up and tell you how it started. There was a program that started almost, I would say, 30 years ago that taught dentists how to run a business. They don't teach you that in dental school. They teach you how to drill teeth, right? So there was this little insurance salesman. They called him Itsy Bitsy Walter Haley. And Itsy Bitsy had this huge insurance business, and most of his clients were dentists. And he realized they knew nothing about business. Even the really great dentists were not making a great living because they didn't know how to do business. So he started something called Dental Boot Camp, and it almost became cultish. And at a certain point, people started saying, you know, Walter, why don't you do a program like this for our kids? And he did. So somehow Walter reached out to me and said, look, Dr. Bill, you have a really unusual career. I mean, you're a New York Times bestselling author. You're featured on ABC's Extreme Makeover. You're the only dentist on TV. You've done this. You started, you know, Discus Dental. We grew from 0 to $1.3 billion in sales before we sold it. I mean, I've done a lot of unusual things that most dentists don't do. He said, would you come as a mentor? I'm like, what's a mentor? So he told me. I said, yeah. So every year I would go to their program and talk to kids and just kind of share the secrets of my success. Well, Walter passed away at 85. And I thought, you know, this program is, it's too important to just vanish. So we rebranded it. We made it a nonprofit. And 14 years ago, we launched the Leap Foundation. And I've had amazing speakers. The thing I love is that so many people in my community and our community have contributed to make this thing successful. Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, sorry, man, everybody's calling. Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, Eva Longoria, Usher, Michael Strahan, Kathy Bates, Paula Abdul, Jonathan Bennett. I mean, these people come and they speak for free and really, really honest. I mean, Mark Wahlberg literally gets on stage and talks to the kids about being a gangster and ending up in jail.
Fellow Bostonian.
What's that?
Fellow Bostonian.
Yeah. You know, Anthony Hopkins talks about how alcohol nearly destroyed his life. I mean, he's a huge advocate for AA. You know, Kathy Bates talks about how lymphedema almost crippled her and ruined her life. I mean, these people get on there, and because, you know, kids sit there and they look at these celebrities and they think they have these picture perfect lives and nothing goes wrong. And I think it's really powerful for these kids to learn that, you know, everybody struggles with something. And, you know, it's such an amazing thing. And we bring in, you know, businessmen and women, and we bring in athletes, and we bring in all different kinds of people that just share the secrets of their success with these kids. And then we teach real skills. We teach them networking. We teach them how to apply for a job. We teach them public speaking. I do a whole thing on health and fitness, you know. I mean, I'm 62 years old. I'm in better shape now than I was when I was 25. Because I know how to exercise and what to eat and what to do. And so, you know, we teach kids. I do a whole thing on drinking and driving. And you can say, oh, well, you know, kids always hear that. Not the way I do it. You know who I bring? My best friend, Dr. Dennis Wells, lost his 21-year-old son because he was drinking and driving. Then I bring in Kyle. Kyle Thomas is a 22-year-old quadriplegic who gets on stage in a wheelchair and says, the stupidest thing I ever did was drive drunk one night. And when a kid hears from a grieving father, and when a kid hears from a quadriplegic who nearly died, believe me, it's a different kind of conversation than Dr. Bill saying, you shouldn't drink and drive. So, I mean, we do things at LEAP that no other program does. And the program all culminates on Friday with something I'd love to invite you to participate in. It's a mentor workshop where we have 150 different professionals from all walks of life. And we do it when we used to do it live, you would sit at a table. Now we do it in virtual rooms, but you sit in a room with kids and they just fire away questions. We send them your biography the day before so they can read up on you. And they sit and they fire away questions. They ask you, Mike, how'd you start your show? Why is it important? All different kinds of things. But, the program is the only one I know of that really focuses on teaching you how to be successful, not teaching you math or science. It teaches you the important skills that I think all successful people exhibit in one way or another.
Man, I know you don't have a ton of time, but I'm going to try and keep you here as long as possible. So you said a bunch of different things, and I'm super passionate about this. Again, you heard a little bit about my background, and I've spoke at high schools with at-risk kids, and I really enjoy that. I just spoke at a college out your way. So one of the things, well, there's a bunch of different things you said, but you'd mentioned the term networking as well. And I love what you're talking about, because you're right. It's not in the traditional academic world of passing the MCAS and all these other things. That's not going to make someone successful. You mentioned networking. I want to ask you a little bit more about that. I'm writing a book called Connection Capital that talks a little bit about what that really means. But tell me some of the success principles that you teach kids that people listening right now they could apply it to their own life, or maybe they could apply it to their children. I'd love to hear some of those.
Okay. Number one, copy genius. I tell kids this all the time. If there's a business you want to go into, what do? Find somebody or a few people that are incredibly successful in that business and ask them if you can shadow them. Ask them if you can, learn from them. I mean, when I finished dental school, I did a residency program in Switzerland. I came back. I was 24 when I graduated dental school. I was 26 when I came back from Switzerland. The last thing that Beverly Hills needed was another cosmetic dentist, right? So what did I do? I found the 5 most successful cosmetic dentists in Beverly Hills. I called them up and I said, look, I'm a student. I just graduated. Can I come and shadow you? And I went in there and all 5 of them said the same thing to me, Mike. You're different. I'm like, well, what do you mean I'm different? They said, well, first of all, shadowing wasn't a thing back then. You're talking about 1987. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really a thing. Like, I just thought this would be a good idea. It wasn't because anybody ever told me to do it. But they said, first of all, we haven't had many students come in and watch us. But the ones that have kind of came in, they watched us, drill on a few teeth, and they left. That's not what I did. I came in early. Yeah, early. I came in early. We didn't even have cell phones then. So it wasn't like I was like distracted. I came in early. I wanted to see how they greeted the patients. I wanted to see the intake forms. And then I took a copy of them so that when I made my intake forms, I could, copy them. And then I watched how they brought the patients into the treatment room, how the dentist examined the patient, how they, discussed the treatment, how the office manager came in and discussed payments and how they were going to pay for the treatment. Then I watched the dentist work on the patient. And then I watched them bring the patient out of the treatment room, go to the front desk, excuse the patient, collect the payment, set up the next, like the whole ball of wax, and I watched
really interesting, the stuff that you're saying too about that. I don't mean to cut you off, but man, I love listening to what you're saying. And again, we're on with Dr. Billdorfman. Again, he is, just the guy's a dynamo within the world of cosmetic dentistry, but he's also out there, helping children. He's helping people. He's mentoring people. He's got his own podcast as well. I'll talk a little bit about that. You said copy genius. I say the same thing, which is success can be duplicated. I think a lot of people, when they think about that, they think that maybe it's improper. And then the other big thing that you said, I'm wearing a t-shirt of my first book, which is titled Ask More, Get More. You talked about, asking. By the way, I'm an attorney by trade. I don't know if you know that, but that was the first thing that I did when I graduated law school and passed the bar exam. I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't know anybody, but I was working at a company and I called their outside counsel and I said, hey, man, I need you as a mentor. So that is so powerful. Talk a little bit more about asking. I had David Meltzer on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about, he looks at his day and he says, if I didn't ask enough questions, I feel like I wasn't successful. Tell me about the power of asking and why that's so important and why it's also something that really helps people get ahead.
It's so funny that you say that because that was number 2 on my list, and I always tell kids in the first hour of LEAP, I do this whole thing called Eagles and Turkeys, where I kind of tell them they got to flock with eagles and stay away from turkeys in their life. Right. And I always tell them the most powerful 3-letter word in the English language, A-S-K, ask, and the worst thing that can happen to somebody could say no, but I try to really teach the kids a lot of principles when they come to my program. But if there's two things that I want them to really embrace and walk away with, it's this. Number 1, don't wait for opportunities in life, make them. If I meet another millennial who tells me that they're waiting for the universe to do something, I just want to scream and tear my hair out. The universe doesn't care about you. You need to care about you. The universe is really busy. We have a pandemic going on. Stop waiting for the universe. You want something to happen, make it happen. And more importantly than that, Mike, when you do get an opportunity in life, don't take it, master it.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference, a huge difference. Listen, when ABC put me on Extreme Makeover, this was the professional opportunity of a lifetime, right? Dentistry, I had it. TV, not so good. I stunk. If you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes of that show, they should have fired me. But instead of me sitting there and feeling like a loser and feeling sorry for myself, I was proactive. I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. I hired the woman who worked with all the kids on American Idol to teach me how to do what we're doing right now. She did mock interview with me after mock interview after mock interview. She taught me how to sit. She taught me how to look. She taught me what to wear. I was not born for this, but I learned how to do it, and as a net result, my company exploded. Discus Dental started off our first year in business. We did 2 million, 4 million, 8 million. And we grew and grew and grew. We plateaued at 76 million. The year I got on Extreme Makeover, we jumped from 76 million to 101. The next year we did 136. And the last year I was on the show, we did almost $200 million in sales.
Wow.
It was huge. And had I not taken that path, had I not learned how to kind of be the best version of me on TV, I would have blown a huge opportunity.
How do you know you're out in LA, the LA area? So obviously that's where most of the celebrities are. How do you get into? How does it work? I think I know the answer, but I just want to hear from you. How does it work when you start to kind of get these big name clients that you had mentioned before? Does it just start with one and then they're just referring you, or are you?
Here's the thing: when people come into my office, if I meet every expectation they have, they walk out satisfied. I don't meet their expectations. My goal is to exceed your expectations. Because when I do that, you go out and you tell all your friends. You know, Jason Phelps came in. You don't know Jason. Jason is the CEO of Virgin's entertainment group, right? Jason comes in, we hit it off, right? Jason is a great guy. He sends me Jessica Simpson. Jessica Simpson is doing a new show with her husband. This is way back in the day, right? So she sends in Nick Lachey. She says, I'm not going to marry you with those wonky teeth. Go get your teeth fixed. Well, so, and I could talk about this because they filmed the whole thing. We were on their show, right?
So I remember that show.
Simpsons doing Jessica's husband's teeth for the wedding. Well, Jessica's good friends with Katy Perry. So she sends in Katy Perry, and she sends in Fergie, and she sends in, and, you know, it's just like one sends the other, sends the other, sends the other. And, you know, it's just like I get a great attorney that comes in, and then pretty soon I treat his or her whole law office. You know, my business grows because when you come to me as a patient, you don't ever have to worry about your teeth again. I do. You know, if I tell you you need to go see an oral surgeon, I don't hand you their card. I tell you who the oral surgeon is. You go to my front desk. Sanette, who's my office manager, is amazing, schedules your appointment with the oral surgeon, and she follows up to make sure you do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, in a second, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that maybe, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this question. When I think about what you do as a profession, especially with people where their appearance is literally their product, you know, I don't know if you can answer, we'll see how it goes, but I want to ask you a little bit about some things that might have gone wrong, because things don't go perfect. But I want to talk about, you know, how you overcame some of those obstacles, what you did, and how you kind of rectify it in just a second. Folks, we're on with celebrity cosmetic dentist, Dr. Billdorfman. He had mentioned it before. He's been on Larry King. He's been on Extreme Makeover, The Doctors, Oprah. He works with some of the biggest celebrities in the world. He's been doing it for 30 plus years. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's also the inventor of Zoom. I hope we have enough time to talk a little bit about that. But if you'd like some more information about Dr. Bill, you can just go to billdorfman.com. You can also find him on Instagram, Dr. Billdorfman. He's got that blue little check mark to him as well. And you can learn a little bit more about his foundation that I'm also super passionate about and excited about, because he's literally giving back. I mean, this guy is the best of the best. And he's giving back to his community and people all over the world, especially our youth, which need a lot of help, which is the LEAP Foundation. You can go to leapfoundation.com. So let's talk a little bit about this stuff, you know, because when you think about the shows like Extreme Makeover or The Doctors or some of these other shows, you know, what's the one where they show Botched, where they show how things go wrong? Has anything ever like kind of gone wrong for you? And what was that like? What did you do to overcome it? Because I'm just guessing, because we're all human. Things don't work perfectly. What were some of those, if you can talk about them, and what did you do to overcome it?
Well, I'm going to go in a little bit different direction. Let me back up and tell you one thing. I realized really early in life what my gifts were and weren't. For instance, I took piano for 10 years. One day, my piano teacher came to the house and said, I'd like to talk to you and your parents. I thought she was going to tell them what a great kid I was and how hard I worked. She sat us down and said, this is your last piano lesson. I'm like, what? She goes, look, you may be gifted at something. It's not music. She said, every time I come here, I feel like I'm stealing money. You will never be good at this. She goes, I know you try. She goes, you're okay, but I really think you should put your time and energy and effort into something that's going to pay off for you. It's not music. And that was it. That was my last piano lesson. Now, conversely, I've never taken an art class in my life. I can draw anything. I mean, I was a little kid sitting in, first grade, second grade. I'm sketching the teacher. I'm sketching the tree. I could just draw. It was never something I had to learn. It was something I was just wired to do. So you ask me how do I do what I do with cosmetic dentistry? I'm an artist. I mean, this isn't something I had to learn. This is just something that I'm really fortunate that I can do. And the thing that I love about dentistry that's unlike let's say plastic surgery, you go in and you get a nose job. I can't control how your nose is going to heal. I can do the same procedure on you and get a great result, and then somebody else and not get a great result. The great thing about what I do is that when I make teeth, if I don't like them, I just fix them. Like, it isn't like you're stuck. If I'm going to do 8 veneers on your upper arch and they come back from the lab and I don't like the color, or I don't like the shape, or I don't like the translucency, or I don't like this, I just don't use them. I make new ones. Yeah. I get to try them in. And the other thing that's also a real advantage for me that a plastic surgeon doesn't have is you're not sleeping. You're awake, So you come in and I say, okay, Mike, here are your new teeth. And you're like, hey, doc, I love it. Or, hey, doc, I don't love it. Now I have my own lab. So if there's things that we need to do to change them, 99% of the time we can do them right there. But in a worst case scenario, if everything went sideways and you absolutely don't love what I made, I just put your temporaries back on and we make another pair. So I can honestly tell you, I've never had a failure in my professional career, because if I do something and you don't like it, I'll just change it and make it the way you want it. So I won't actually cement those teeth until you sign a sheet of paper saying, I love the shape, the color, the style, sign away, boom, I put your teeth in.
Makes a lot of sense. What is someone, I know we don't have got a few more minutes left, but what is someone like you who's, again, man, you're busy, like we talked about before, you do a lot of different things. You do have a lot of God-given ability and talent, but you talked obviously about that you're working hard. What do you do for fun? What do you do for downtime? Are you creating sculptures, which I'm sure you're probably great at? Are you painting? Are you drawing? What are some of the things that you do that are outside of maybe the business world that kind of just, I don't know, lets you be and just relax?
Well, for one, I work out every day. I go to the gym every single day. When the pandemic started, I did my first feature layout for GQ magazine. I think I'm the oldest shirtless guy they ever put in GQ magazine. And we just did a 1-year follow-up article. So I work out every day. I love to ski, snow ski, water ski. I travel a lot. I've become a huge scuba fanatic in the last several years. Pretty much every vacation I do, I have a whole group of buddies that are all, scuba divers. So I plan trips. I go all over the world with my scuba friends, and we go on these scuba trips. And I love to travel. And, and then believe it or not, one of the things that I really love to do, and it's really fun for me, is working with high school and college students and just helping them be the best versions of themselves. And that's why, I love doing LEAP. I love seeing these kids excel. I love seeing them become incredibly successful.
Yeah, I could probably keep you for another hour and talk a little bit about that. But, we talked earlier a little bit, and it's funny. I've told people it's the same thing, that I've never failed at anything in my life. We'll call them temporary defeats. But talk to me a little bit about, that mindset, because I think so many people, especially entrepreneurs, you're a professional dentist, but you're also an entrepreneur. You've owned businesses. You've grown the Zoom business. Talk to us a little bit about how to overcome some of those obstacles and the mindset that you really need as someone to just kind of get ahead.
I think the biggest obstacle for people to overcome is the fear of failure. That prevents people from doing so much in their life. And if you embrace the attitude that you're never going to fail, I think that can really help a lot of people. And like I said, when things don't turn out the way you want them to, stop looking at that as failure. Look at that as practice. Learn something from it, change, and go on. And, the other thing is, it's funny. I went to my 40-year high school reunion, right? And I'm looking around, and so many people there just never did anything with their life. they just never did anything, you know? I mean, if you have a great idea and you believe in it, go do it. You know, I mean, I don't know. I, I could have retired when I sold Discus Dental. Why didn't I retire? Well, first of all, I love doing dentistry. I love helping students. I mean, what am I going to do? Go golf all day? No, I'm not going to do that. I'd kill myself. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much more left in me. I'm launching 2 really cool products this year, and I'm super excited about it. My non-compete on whitening finally expired. I'm working with Great Healthworks. They're the largest infomercial company in the world, and we're going to launch a new take-home tooth whitening product that I'm super duper excited about. And I have another product that's really fun that I'm going to launch. It's caffeinated chewing gum. I hate coffee, but I used to drink Red Bull once in a while because I needed like a little caffeine. And I thought, why not put it in chewing gum? So I have this caffeinated chewing gum. It's got 166 milligrams of caffeine in it. And it gives you a buzz, you know, and it kind of like when you're feeling like you need a little coffee. So they're little round gumballs. They're called buzz balls. So we're going to be launching that this year, and they're really good. They come in 3 delicious flavors. And the big problem in that, Mike, was trying to figure out how to get a great taste without tasting the caffeine. But we nailed it, and they're really yummy. If you send me your address, I'll send you some of the prototypes. You can try them.
100%. Man, again, I'm super excited that we came on the All Report today. Folks, we've been on with Dr. Billdorfman. I mean, what an amazing individual. His success is just remarkable. But you heard him earlier talk about, he has some ability, but he also worked hard. And I think that's one of the key takeaways to listening to Dr. Dorfman. And I just loved everything he had to say. This is one of those episodes where I would 100% rewind it and listen to it again, because his success came from hard work and dedication and not letting some of those difficult things really set him back. Like he said earlier, he says he's never failed at anything before. And I say the exact same thing. If you'd like some more information about Dr. Dorfman, you can go to billdorfman.com. If you'd like some more information about his LEAP Foundation, we spent a little bit of time about that. If you've listened to my podcast or read any of my books, you understand my passion for kids and the youth as well. He also has his podcast. You can find that as well. And then, again, that you can find him on Instagram. He's got 1.4 million followers on Instagram, and he's a dentist. So you can check out drbilldorfman.com. Dr. Bill, man, thanks so much for being my guest. It's been an amazing show. My name is Michael Alden, and that's Dr. Bill.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by connectioncapital.com. That's CONNEXTION capital.com. That's CONNEXTION capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever. Have you ever tried to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even Clubhouse, and you couldn't quite connect with them? That's because the biggest gap in the world is the gap of access. It's not the wealth gap. It's not the credit gap. It's the access gap. Connectioncapital.com is leveling the playing field, and it's free to join. Visit connectioncapital.com, CONNEXTION capital.com. Again, it's CONNEXTION capital.com. You are one connection away from your life changing forever.